Nick Happens 2489 asks, how did you first get into art as a whole / for a profession? I guess the easiest way to answer this is just to say that I always loved drawing. I've just blathered on about how much I loved drawing as a teenager. Yeah, I've just been drawing since as far back as I can remember. And so I just was like, why would I ever want to stop? Might as well get paid for it a little bit at the same time. I just get pleasure out of creating art, and I always have. Just visually realizing something that's in my head is just fucking the most fun ever. Oh god.
Nice birdie.
You getting it? I'm getting it. I'm definitely doing better than I was last time. So I always did art subjects at school. I did really well in GCSE. If you don't know what GCSE is, that is the tests that you do in the UK and I believe in Australia when you are like 16. I got an A star. Oh my god, this is important! When I did art for GCSE, I absolutely based all of my work on my furry characters. That isn't a joke. That is a thing I did. I should have aimed more to the right. Shit, that is gonna blow me way off course. Ah, fuck. Never mind. Yes! Oh god, art GCSE! I just drew furries all the time and I got an A star. I wish I had that work, but I don't. But I will tell you something incredibly important. We had to design what our final piece would be for our art GCSE. And my final piece, no word of a lie, was a quote-unquote homage to Salvador Dali, who I loved very much. And I wrote about this. I didn't just rip off Salvador Dali without telling anyone about it. Like, I wrote about it in my workbook. I recreated a Salvador Dali painting with my furry characters. And I've not even got to the best part yet. Oh fucking hell, I can't believe this is all coming back to me. So I left secondary school and they kept some of our pieces, including mine, and my best friend, who was a few years younger than me, told me a couple of years later that my final piece for my art GCSE was hanging up on the school wall somewhere. My fucking furry abomination. I'm so sorry, I don't have any of my GCSE work, I don't think, especially not that final piece because the school kept it and I'm sure at this point must have burnt it, but I will certainly put up the picture, the Salvador Dali painting that it was inspired by, because holy shit, it was one with, it's an awesome painting. It's got this guy holding a wooden cross, and it's got elephants that have stilt-like legs and a huge rearing white horse. That is a really cool painting. Fuck me, I got away with some stuff in GCSE. Oh god, it's amazing the things you do when you're a teenager that the adults in your life will just be like, well, I guess she's doing this. Just allow. It's extraordinary. This wasn't some private thing I kept in my room. This was something I did for my final fucking piece in secondary school. In fucking public view. And I didn't... This is the kind of shit that a year or so later I would have got absolutely penalised by classmates for. But I was just, I think, in a lucky time period that I just managed to get away with this stuff before it became infamously embarrassing, I guess. Can we get this in? Can we sink this egg? Oh, that wasn't enough. It's never enough! It's never enough! Or it's always too much. Get in the hole. Get in that hole. So we can get out of here. Well, at least it wasn't a +2. So I did that in GCSE. And then I did fine art in college as well as graphic design. 2 separate courses. I should count myself lucky that there were 2 separate things. Graphic design was hard as nails, but I did fairly well in it anyway. I got a B, I think, at the end of it all. So yeah, graphic design was difficult, but I did enjoy it, and I made some friends in it. Fine art, A-level, was, I'm very, very sorry, a pile of shit. It was, well, you know what? Maybe I'm being harsh. I had a lot of friends in fine arts, and almost all of them were, like, uniformly better than me at it. And they were not, like, they weren't kids that were, like, renowned for drawing a whole bunch. They were just fucking better at me at fine art, and that, like, knocked me off my fucking pedestal of confidence, like, but I'm the artist kid, why are they all doing better than me? They fucking were. So our classes, like, about 90% of our classes just consisted of the lot of us drawing and painting the same still life for 2 years. And that sounds like an exaggeration. It really isn't. And I was just not impressed. It wasn't very creative from that standpoint. Oh dear, oh dear, well. But not only that, the teachers weren't great. They were pretty snarky. Yeah, like, I just wanted it to be drawing anime shit, which honestly, you know, you should be pushing yourself more than that. If you're serious about art, you should be doing more than that when you're in school. And I did understand that, but the classes were fucking boring. I'm sorry, the classes were fucking boring, and the teachers were assholes as well. Extremely. I managed to pass art, which I honestly fucking didn't expect at all. And I remember I was collecting my work from...
Bogey.
Nice! I remember I was collecting my paintings after they were all graded. Some people... Oh god, I'm nearly off the leaderboard. Some people had their art kept, like, just to display in the school afterwards. And I had a piece of graphic design art which was kept, so I was very happy about that. But I was looking for my fine artwork, and I couldn't find it. I was looking in all the piles. I turned to one of my teachers in the staff room, and I said to him, I can't seem to find my work. Has it been kept behind? And that guy scoffed at me, and he was like, no, it'll probably be over there in that pile. And I was like, oh, thank you. He was such an ass all the way to the end. So I didn't enjoy fine art at all. After that, what did I do? I went to fucking university. I completely forgot. And it wasn't my big plan to go to university. I'm one of those people that kind of just went to uni because all their friends were going to university. So I was like, I guess I'll go as well. I remember being, oh, so close and yet so far. I remember being, like, in conversations with different fucking grown-ups, and they were like, oh, you've just finished college, where are you going to university? And I was like, I don't really feel like it. And I am kind of
Nice part.
here and there about university. I had a really great time at uni. Before I forget, I had a great time. I even graduated really well. It was great. But because of the nature of the arts, sometimes I'm just like, was it worth it? I don't know. Anyway, I did Art Foundation, which was fun. Art Foundation, for those of you that don't know, is kind of a year course between college and a quote-unquote proper university course, where you just fuck around. You just fuck around and make mistakes and all that jazz. And it's a cracking idea, honestly. I had a lot of fun. I even went on a trip to New York when I was doing that. So yeah, it was nothing to sniff at. And after that, I did illustration, graphic design and illustration. And as I said, I graduated really well, 3 years, and I graduated, and I was very proud of myself because at uni I didn't really learn a lot of technical skill. I didn't learn Photoshop or whatever. Okay, this is important. I didn't touch Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint or anything while I was in university. They were not there to teach me that stuff. Hooray! It was all about using actual, quote-unquote, actual materials, like getting your pencils and your paints and your oil pastels and your acrylics and your chalks and all sorts of inks and stuff, and doing stuff like that. So that's all I knew throughout university. That was fine. I enjoyed it. But I didn't learn how to draw with Photoshop or anything like that until basically well after I was a graduate. So I was kind of behind everybody. I certainly didn't use animation software either. There was a really brief mini course on Flash animation. You could just opt into it if you liked, and it would last 3 or 4 days, I think. Let's hit this just wrong. So it was me and a bunch of other girls. I can't remember if there were any guys. I'd be surprised if there weren't any other guys there. But all my friends at uni were basically girls, and we were all in this thing together because we were like, "Wow, animation! Ooh!" So there was this teacher, this guy, who was not a pleasant character. He was just completely unencouraging. So what we were doing was we were learning to animate a circular bee, a buzzy bee, flying left to right across the screen. And it was the kind of animation that I'm not especially fond of. I don't blame people for doing it, of course, but it's not my kind of thing anyway. It's just tweening, basically. You just shift shapes about. You set patterns for shapes to move in, and they do that in loop. There's more to tweening than that. There definitely is. You can make it look amazing, but this was certainly not amazing looking. So we were all having trouble learning how to do this because, of course, Flash is intimidating. If you've never used an animation software if you've never used animation software before and people are telling you here are a million different buttons, it was pretty intimidating. We were learning to do a simple thing, but I think a reason why we weren't very enthusiastic about it was because we were all doing the same boring thing. A lot of animation lessons begin with, let's draw a ball bouncing. I don't know if we even did that. I don't think there was any drawing involved. And you can draw in Flash, you don't have to make vector shapes and stuff. But yeah, I don't remember even drawing a bouncy ball, which I think would have been much more successful as well as much more simple. Regardless, we were trying our damnedest to do this bee thing, and this teacher just had such an attitude and was constantly insulting, not harshly insulting us, but just telling us we were daft and stupid, and it's just like, do you want to fucking teach us or not? He was just frustrated with us, and we were frustrated with him, and it was one of the, quite honestly, many things that made me feel that animation wasn't for me. I felt like that for a very long time. So that was my brief experience of animation while I was in university. Not anything... Well, actually, you know what? I tell a lie. Can I get her from here? Can I get that? Wah! This is stupid. Just into the ocean. We did stop motion animation. We did stop motion animation in university, and that was far more successful, and I really enjoyed it. I made a little stop motion animation with a dragon, imagine that, because I love dragons so much. Right there. And you can see that on my original YouTube channel. I will link that video, +2, what a shame, but yeah, I really enjoyed that. I got to storyboard it and everything and make my own wireframe thing. God, I've forgotten what it's called. When you have a wireframe model underneath that claymation clay. I've forgotten what it's called. How embarrassing. It's not maquette, is it? Wow, that's a red sun. Gee whiz. I know the sun's setting, but oh my god, that looks apocalyptic. Oh, that's a strong wind. Let's hit it right about there, I think. Let's see if this works. Let's see if my judgment works. Yeah, come on, come on, come on.
Nice job.
I hope so. Blow me. Blow me hard. Blow me into the green, baby. Yes. That's what I like to see.
Nice on.
Don't take that out of context. Oh, birdie putt, how special. The game just announces you're doing something right for once. I love it.